Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comix Rant Mini. I'm your host, Arvin Bautista, and I went to Japan a couple of months ago for a vacation, and I grabbed a bunch of manga in the land of manga itself. And I had gone to this place called Nakano Broadway from the recommendation of a friend of mine that was visiting. He grew up in Japan. Well, actually, no, he grew up in Hong Kong. That's where I met him. We went to school together. He's half German, half Japanese. And he visits his mom in Japan. And he's like this freelance photographer. His name's Rue Vocal. You can look him up on Instagram. I'll try to put a link on after this video. He does fantastic sports photography. His eye for capturing a shot in composition is, to be honest, like bar none. Like he really does not have any contemporaries, in my opinion. It looks really good, his stuff, and he never was that guy in high school. He had a passing interest in photography. Is mostly girls for him. But anyway, I'm like giving you dirt on this guy. Anyway, I met up with this guy, and in Japan, I was supposed to go to Akihabara. It's this electronics city with lots of video games and nerdy things, comic books and so on. It was during the summer. His recommendation was I went to this other place called Nakano Broadway, which had this home store of Mandarake, which is like this giant, I guess, manga and nerdy things. It's just huge. It's a huge place, and it's probably one of the places that I would have gone to in Akihabara anyway. But he explained one of the main things to go there was that it's indoors and air conditioned, and whatever's in Nakano Broadway, I'm probably going to see in Akihabara. And while he was really pumping this place up, Nakano Broadway, I had to think, because Akihabara is known for video games and arcades and stuff like that. I'm a Sega fan, so one of the main things I wanted to go to in Akihabara is gone. The Sega building has now become the Gigo building. Sega, I loved that company so much. It was part of my childhood. Is not anywhere near as awesome, even known in Japan as it was that I would like to think it would be. So one of the main things for me to go to the building there was gone. And then, as the more I talked to this guy, Rue, he's an artist too. It was really cool. When we were growing up, going to high school together, we just kind of played basketball, and we went to some classes together. We were kind of in different social circles, but it was always fun to hang out with this guy. But we never really talked art. Check this out, T-Dragon. Never really talked art. His main thing was, now that we met up older and we're both technically artists, right? I'm unemployed. I'm like freelancing just like he was. He was like, go for that passion. He wants to see me pursue my love for comics. He knows it, right? It kind of seeps through my social media accounts. He knew this. He had me draw like this Street Fighter Ryu poster for him when he was running for treasurer in high school. So he knows, like, I'm the comic book guy. And at that point when we were talking, I had to think, right? Like, I have these three vices in my life. It's nerd vices. Don't worry, it's not like cocaine or anything like that. Nerd vices, which would be movies, video games, and comic books. And now that I'm older, comic books is the one vice that I want to, especially at that time, a couple of months ago, that I want to pursue. Look at this one. T-Dragon is pretty awesome. So I'm just flipping through these books. Sorry, I'm giving you like all this crazy backstory about myself and my trip, but it'll kind of make sense. So anyway, it's all these comics that I wanted to pursue. And he said, like, this place, Mandarake, in Nakano Broadway, has like the biggest version of this place. This is the place to go to. And it's got all the toys. And because it's summer in Japan, it's kind of insanely hot. My family would be tagging along with me, so it might be a better place. By the way, this video is not for kiddies, as you may be able to see. So I made that call. I was like, all right, you know what? Forget Akihabara. It's all right. What am I going to do there? I'm going to play video games, buy retro games, but my main focus is comics, is manga. I want to explore this this country through its manga. And, that's what I went to Mandarake and Nakano Broadway for. Now, if you've been watching any of my episodes, you will find that I was quite disappointed because a lot of bookstores in Japan always seal their books. I can't browse through this stuff. Really? So that was like one of the main downers when I went to Nakano Broadway. Mandarake, it's huge. It's got all sorts of stuff, but even their used books are in plastic sealed bags. Except for this, I think it was 5 or 6 big bookshelves right outside of the shop. So you go in this building, and in the building there's all these separate shops, toys and stuff like that, which was cool, but I'm just focusing on comics right now. So I hit up the bookstores. Oh yeah, not for kids. I hit up the bookstores, and the bookshelves outside the bookstores had these books on sale. Or I had a bunch of books on sale. It was 220 yen for 3 of these volumes. Now, granted, they would sell sets, but they're also in plastic bags, so I had no idea what I was going to buy. Granted, these are all just kind of non-sequential books. So I had all this slew of books to choose from, and they were not in complete order. So they were just, I think there was T-Dragon, maybe 1 and 3, and then, whatever. And then Scarface, I think this may have been the only one, volume 3. I'm jumping into the middle of things here. And Martian Dice. Now, the cool part is I don't know any Japanese. And, okay, it's not cool. But the part about it is I don't know any Japanese. So when I'm going in there to try to at least buy comics from this place, right, manga from this place, I wanted to get something that was just I could kind of read and understand, right, without understanding the language. So my first grab as a action-loving male are these books that were heavy on action and kind of really interesting looking. So I would just be grabbing these because I was I think the first one that I saw may have been T-Dragon, and I was wow, this was, there were all these other volumes of it. But this volume, so I'm going to browse through this, kind of like how I browse through it in Japan. And I keep bumping my camera. How I browse through it in Japan. And you can kind of see why. This is immediately eye-grabbing, crazy, roided out action. Look at this dude. Craziness. So this is T-Dragon by Shu Sakuratani. And he actually has a manga now, Rooster Fighter, which is awesome. It's about this rooster beating up kaiju. It's awesome. It's kind of humorous and serious at the same time. This book, T-Dragon, is by him, an older book. And it is more serious. So it starts off the Starship Troopers thing. They're fighting bugs. But by volume 5, it's just all out fight manga. And I love trying to decipher the fights here. The craziness. You can see it right here. I mean, boom, they're just taking swings at each other. They're going through walls. And then the crazy part is they're actually, I just picked this out. I was oh, this is awesome. There's all this fight. So this is the one I picked. There were these other volumes there. This is the one I picked because the fights are crazy. And then I come to this page and wait, what is going on? Why is that car wheel there? I thought this was science, sci-fi, beat 'em up monster alien. He's grabbing these poles, but they're actually these parking meter poles, what? They're tiny? What's going on here? The Micronauts, but super powered Micronauts. They're flinging, breaking bike spokes and stuff like that. I mean, so that got me. That totally intrigued. And it was kind of this cool cool scenario. But this is not how the manga starts at all. But this was the volume I picked because it was just awesome action, right? People getting punched, these grotesque looking, monster looking guys, and it's fun. They're getting flung up, getting hit on the street lamp and coming back down. And then it's this kind of setup that I was just all right, sold. This is one of the books I'm going to have. and it was 220 yen for 3 volumes. So at this point, nothing was really grabbing me except for this book. But I was not going to buy like all 3 volumes of this because I want a different amount and different style. Really, right? But, you know, action's what I'm going to say. Boom! Right in the face and then smashes him back down. Anyway, so awesome. He beats this guy, you know, and then it kind of like switches into this like crazy horror, right? It's like the sci-fi horror nuttiness. I'm not sure what's going on, and it's great. I'm not sure what's going on, and it's great. Anyway, that was T-Dragon. So this was the one that I was like, oh shoot. Okay, it's 3 for 220. I gotta find 2 other things. Right? There's all sorts of other manga there that I passed up, and my other instant buy was this one, Scarface, by Keisuke Itagaki, and then drawn by Yukinao Yamauchi. And Scarface is a offshoot of Baki the Grappler. So that's like a wrestling manga. And Keisuke Itagaki is actually the guy who draws it. But in this case, in this spin-off, he hires somebody else, or he works with somebody else to draw the book for him. And that guy's style, I think he must either worked under him or emulated his style, but it kind of looks like Itagaki, the original Baki the Grappler guy. It kind of looks like his artwork. It's a little looser. I think Itagaki is like a whole lot tighter. But, you know, I think he kind of captures the Baki the Grappler stuff. And, you know, I'd never really read any of the Baki the Grappler stuff. I had to do some research, and now I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should read that stuff because it's cool. Anyway, it's like this big guy, and you're going to see why I like gravitated towards this book. Big guy, Yakuza, gets shot at. He's bulletproof. He's like crazy Hulk looking guy. Look at this, like sound effects. Not exactly sure how to read it, but it's probably like rat-a-tat, right? Like, and it looks cool. I always love that about manga. It looks cool as a graphic. The language becomes like this very cool graphic element that has a different approach or different feel than like rat-a-tat-tat, right? And I like rat-a-tat-tat, don't get me wrong. So, you know, this guy gets mad, he chases him. This is what kind of grabs me. It's like, oh man, look at this dude. Now he's like running after the car. What's going on? And then, you know, the chapters are all set up like that to get you into it. It's all high action, high speed. He's running after these guys. And then he, I believe, which is already crazy. So these guys are freaking out. I believe he figures it out and he takes a shortcut and he goes through this department store and barrels through it all. And then reaches the other side and just beats the tar out of these dudes. And it's got some crazy sequences where he's like twisting around, grabbing cars, right? His fingernails are totally digging into the car itself. He's like a beast, basically, right? And it's great stuff. It's a lot of like, and like I like how grotesque looking these characters are. Like, it kind of gives me like this feeling of like, or understanding, like Jack Kirby's characters are like these kind of monstrous beast-like grotesque things, and he totally tapped into the younger audience, right? Like these guys are all buffed out. And if you look at Itagaki, the writer of this book, his style actually reminds me of what Trad Moore was probably looking at. It's kind of like this really buffed out dudes and strange looking characters that are very, very memorable. But also, like, you can't really, like, you know, they're not pretty. There's stuff going on. These people's faces are getting smushed by these giant hands. You know, woo, yeah, that's not good. Anyway, so you can see, like, all right, I gotta pick this up. You know, this is just too cool. I can't let this go. There's like a Hulk guy, Solomon Grundy guy. He has like shares like a drink with him. There's no real fight between the two of them. He just shares a drink with him. Reminds me a lot of like those X-Men Colossus Juggernaut stories. It's just a common thread, right? Like it's a cool story device. Two big guys kind of just solve their problems drinking whiskey. Anyway, that was Scarface by Keisuke Itagaki. Okay, so I had these two in my hands, and I was like, okay, I gotta find a third one, because if I don't, I'm not gonna get 3 books for $2.20. But I was really having a hard time finding this stuff, and you can see like the train of thought I'm going through here is action, 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 crazy looking. And I picked this book up, Martian Dice, number 2 by Ohishi Masaru. And I was like, when you're looking at stuff like this and you're trying to pick something fast, you're not really, I'm not really paying attention. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's stuff's pretty good. But I'm looking for action. I want something that I can understand real quick. I'm just in that mindset. So I actually picked this up and put it back down quite a few times, trying to find my third book. I was just not sure what I wanted. There was like this sports manga that was all action and, that would be super cool. And even though I would flip through this, I would still put it down. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me. Why am I putting it down? This stuff is excellent. So after a while, thank goodness I picked this book. But what a great book. And I didn't really know about this artist until later, Ohishi Masaru. So I looked him up, trying to find what else he did, and he has a few volumes, but I don't think any of them were really translated. I think even Martian Dice doesn't have like some kind of scanlation. So I'm like reading this through Google Translate. And it's great. It's really great. Like, really well told. It's like these bounty hunter people, right? I'm coming in here, second volume, so stuff is happening already. But look at these colors. Really nicely reproduced, even it's just the first few pages of this, but it looks so great. Look at these characters. He's got this influence that's like a mix of bande dessinée and manga, and I always like that mix. It's always fascinating to me when these two things collide and there's like this kind of newer style that comes out of it. Colors are great, So let me just flip through this. Yeah, not for kids. And then it's like this sci-fi thing. They're capturing these people and putting them like in these stasis cubes and cute cat and really anatomically correct people. And it's got this like European style of hatching, right? Even anatomy, even some of the finish. Then you get manga coming in there, and I love that it just kind of moves in and out of these styles so comfortably. It's really great. Martian Dice. Look at this craziness. It's like this kind of hatchling seed thing, but look at the hatching on this. It's got that Mobius kind of feeling, right when he was hatching the crap out of everything. And then it's got this simple line going on. Look at that. Look at that. I'm just going to shut up. Look at that. Really good stuff. So, when I got these 3 books, I kind of lumped them together. It might be a longer episode, so I apologize because nobody really has time to watch all this stuff. And then it's, there's like this other mini story here that comes in, Iceman Resurrection. It follows like this couple, and it seems like the guy's been like cryogenics, like he comes back, he's like an astronaut, and then he tries to settle into regular life with his wife. And I don't know how these guys connect at all to the story, but it's great. There's this Elvis dude, it's got this Norman Rockwell scenario going on here. Its character design's fun, right? And then this guy can draw anything. It's really good stuff. I have not read it all the way through. There's like a sequence of him running through, which is always fun in comics and manga. And it's got this cute like European shop mix. I guess he's also on the run, but we got some crazy imagery going on here. I would not be surprised if this guy worked for for animation studios, just in the same vein where I'm blanking out. What's the guy's name? The guy that made Akira. Otomo. Like that kind of line of thinking, right? Clean, really well-defined character models, right? These guys are cool costumes. Because I know there's many people that came out of those studios, Otomo Studio, that share his mindset, right? And then attention to detail and quality. And just really good. I'm just flipping through. Whoa, hello. I'm just flipping through this stuff. Maybe that's why I really bought this. Yeah, okay, Arvin, don't try to hide it. It was so hard for me to buy. Anyway, that's Martian Dice. This is the second volume. It's got the cool little flap on there. I should probably try to finish reading the rest of this. It's cool. It's humor. It's got some great sequences, right? Like, these were the obvious choice for me because there's just like action, action, action. But Martian Dice actually has some really good storytelling going on. And I could actually understand it. I think that's why I finally was like, okay, I'm going to buy this because it's gorgeous, right? And it's really well told in many facets that I was not looking for to fill in the last volume that I had to get for the sale. It has a lot of subtlety. It has a lot of humor, character, right? And a lot of concepts it's trying to throw at you that it has to present clearly because it's already crazy sci-fi. Anyway, so that was my trip to Nakano Broadway. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Comix Rant Mini. This was my treasure that I came out of, but I think I will always put these three books together in my head as a unit because it definitely does inform my browsing capabilities. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today for Comix Rant. Thank you for joining me. I will see you guys next time.